As of the making of this video, I have about 5 hours of playtime in the Sonic Racing CrossWorlds beta, and all I have to say is, they cooked. They absolutely cooked. Hello everyone, my name is Starwise, and whoo, boy is this game good. I was one of the lucky people selected to participate in the closed beta for the upcoming Sonic games, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. As someone who's a fan of the previous Sonic Racing games, especially Transformed, as I believe it to be better than most Mario Kart games, I was beyond excited when they showed off gameplay during this month's State of Play. The game just looked like such a massive improvement over Team Sonic Racing, not only bringing back the extreme gear and the transformation mechanic, but the gameplay itself just looked like a step up in quality compared to the previous installment. Fast forward to now where we have the closed beta released for PS5, and I could not be more happy with how this game turned out. Actually, that's kind of a lie. I still have some issues, but I'll get to those later. First things first, I will say the content in this beta is pretty lacking, but then again, it is a beta, so what else did you expect? In the beta, there's only 9 characters and 6 levels you can play through, with 5 CrossWorld laps being included. And unfortunately, the extreme gear is not in this beta. This is really sad times indeed. However, despite the lack of content, I do believe this to be an overall fun time. All the tracks in this game are very fun to blast through. I'd say it's about 4 to 5 minutes on average for a race, which is pretty good in my opinion. Not too long, but also not too short. Another thing I like about this game is just the overall feel of driving. If you played the previous Sonic Racing games, you'll immediately notice the difference in how it feels. It's kind of hard to describe it, but I'd say it's a bit more stiff to turn, if that makes sense. It's strange at first, but after a while you do get used to it, so I'm not really complaining. Something else that I do still need to get used to, though, is the drift itself. In previous games, it was pretty easy to hold onto your drift in straight sections by changing the directions at the right time. But in this game, it's a lot more difficult, as I think the drifting is a bit more sharper than it used to be. I constantly find myself bumping into walls and getting greedy trying to get that last drift. But yeah, overall the driving feels pretty good. And in general, it just feels faster compared to Team Sonic Racing, which is a plus in my book. Something else that I really enjoyed in this game is the car customization. Again, since this is a beta, the parts you can choose from are pretty limiting, but despite that I had a lot of fun creating my own vehicles to use in-game. It's also really cool how vehicles aren't restricted to each different character anymore, or different character type. You can use any vehicle on any character. Another thing you can customize are the gadgets. They are essentially small perks you can use during a race, such as faster drifting, increased slipstream range, and of course the faster tricks, which I think might be the meta of the game since the normal speed for tricks is a bit too slow. Something like this makes it really fun to experiment with the different types of gadgets there are and also what fits best with my playstyle. And finally, the thing that makes this game stand apart, the CrossWorld laps. The way this works is that before you finish the first lap, the person in first place chooses between 2 rings, and whichever one is chosen will be the second lap for that race. This gimmick is honestly amazing, and I'm surprised at how well it was implemented in a kart racing game like this. And the CrossWorlds themselves are all pretty fun to drive through. It makes each race feel more engaging since you don't know what'll happen on that second race. However, despite all the positives I've gone through, there are some issues I do have with the game. Since this is a beta, it's easy to expect some bugs and glitches to happen, so I won't go too in-depth with what I've found. Although there is one main bug I want to address, and that is whenever you finish a CrossWorld lap, the initial track doesn't load back in, which makes everyone stuck and unable to progress. And sometimes whenever it does load back, there is a chance that the collision becomes unaligned with the actual track itself, which makes navigating everything a lot more weird and tricky to go through. Now, I haven't experienced any of these myself, but I have seen them happening on Twitter. However, I do feel like spreading these 2 bugs in particular is very important, and these 2 need to be addressed before the full game comes out. Another issue I have with this game is that sometimes it can become very overwhelming. To put it simply, the items are very powerful, and they can cause a lot of chaos on the tracks. To put it short, the items are just overpowered. They can be very chaotic, especially on the final lap. And while that can be fun at times, I do feel like things should definitely be toned down a bit. Not sure how exactly they should go about with this, but I feel like a good step would be reducing the item slots from 2 to 1. Having less items flying around the track will definitely make things less overwhelming. And they could definitely find a way to keep the 2 item thing by having a gadget that increases your item slots from 1 to 2. This is just a personal idea. I don't know if this is the best thing. Something else they do feel like needs to be tweaked about the items is that some of them use red rings to teleport to players. And there are a lot of them that use this thing, so it's very hard to tell what exactly will come out, so I feel like changing some of them to be color specific would help things out a lot in my opinion. But yeah, other than that, this game is really promising. So far, I've had an amazing time playing this game, and even with the negatives I've had, I am definitely going to be playing as much as I can before the beta ends. So in other words, yeah, the video is over. Goodbye.